And now on the careers stage, we have a presentation by Kelly Lakshan, Strategic Marketing, Rhombus Power. Please welcome her to the stage.
Hello? There we go. That one picked up. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming. As mentioned, my name is Kelly Lakshan. I lead strategic marketing here at Rhombus Power. My hope for today was just to give you all a little bit of a sense of what it's like to work at Rhombus Power. It's a really unique company. I can tell a little bit about my journey into Rhombus Power because it was a little bit of a non-typical path into technology itself. And then actually, I have some colleagues that will be joining me here in a few minutes and would love to just kind of open it up to question and answer. We would love to hear from you all, whether you're job seekers, whether you're interested in the company, want to hear your questions and just kind of have it be a more lively, engaging conversation. So with that being said, I think a great way to talk about what it's like working at Rhombus is to talk about my journey into Rhombus. So back in 2019, I was actually an all-source analyst at the Defense Intelligence Agency. I knew very little about AI, I knew very little about big data, but I did know that for me to be the best analyst that I could be, what I needed to do was deliver timely, relevant assessments to my intelligence customers. So at the time, I was a Mexico analyst, which meant in the peak of 2019, I was doing a lot of counter-drug work. At the time, the sort of counter-fentanyl, counter-drug problem set was a really tricky one, but it was one of high priority as overdose rates were going up in the US, and it was a big focus of the administration at the time. So my team at DIA and myself, we were producing as many all-source assessments as we could to our intelligence customers, telling them of the threat that is, drugs and other things coming across the border. I had heard of this project called SableSpear. And when I learned a little bit more about SableSpear, I came to understand that it was a project that some data analysts, data scientists within my mission center were doing with at least to me at the time, unnamed group from Silicon Valley. It sounded a little spooky, right? That's kind of what you get when you're in the intelligence community. And while I didn't understand exactly how they were doing it, what I was seeing was the output, and it was incredible. This team, this SableSpear initiative, was scraping the entire internet, open source, dark web, and starting to map out the entire illicit fentanyl chain. They were able to identify correlations and connections among individuals and organizations in China that were shipping out precursor chemicals to folks in Mexico, organizations in Mexico that were developing these drugs, all the way up to suppliers in the US. And these insights were all based on open source, purely unclassified information. So we started using these insights like crazy. They were getting up to the highest level of government here in the US, but they were also shareable with partners across the US government, across law enforcement agencies, but also with allies and partners abroad. We were able to share these insights with our cooperative partners in China, with our partners in Mexico as well. And it wasn't until years later, after I had already left government, I had moved to California, that I learned that this unnamed group from Silicon Valley was a company called Rhombus Power. And when I learned that it was Rhombus Power that developed this incredible tool that gave me the ability to deliver true decision advantage to my top intelligence customers, I knew I wanted to join the team. So that's why I now have the honor today of being here representing Rhombus Power of the lead of strategic marketing. What does that mean? It means getting to put on and collaborate with the big expos and trade shows like this. It's positioning our products internally, externally. It's also expanding with new customer sets. Every single day is something new, it's dynamic, it's interesting, and I really do truly feel like I'm making an impact, which is something that is kind of what draws you to work within the national security community, especially in government in the first place. And how I feel about Rhombus and about my job at Rhombus is not unique. It's really something, that ability to deliver impact, to really have a true change within the organization and to also feel like every day is a new adventure is something that a lot of my colleagues across the organization feel. So Rhombus, our true mission is to deliver those AI-powered predictive intelligence insights to defense and national security customers. We do that through kind of two different verticals. One, that's on the resourcing side, so we're delivering different applications to resource decision makers across the Pentagon. That includes the US Air Force, the US Army, helping leaders there optimize their budgets, their manpower allocation, their assets, all for the end goal of readiness, force readiness in mind. On the intelligence side, we continue to leverage that open source data platform to help our intelligence and operational partners and clients understand what is happening across the globe at any given time. We're fusing over 5,000 different all-domain data sources into a single platform, into a single pane of glass. We have data spanning almost 15 years back historically, so we're able to provide that connected, contextualized view of what's happening across the world. And then, on top of this data foundation, we have predictive models that are able to forecast emerging threats before the threats actually emerge for our policymakers and our decision makers who need that crucial foresight. So we have models that are looking at Russian and Chinese military aggression. We have models that are looking at instability and unrest at the country as well as even the provincial and administrative level. All of these giving decision makers 2 months, 4 months, sometimes even 6 months of foresight into crises that might emerge, giving them the time and space that they need to be able to make the optimal decision to do something about it. So what kind of person does this mission draw? It draws from all over. We have a very diverse company in terms of backgrounds and skill sets. Our entire leadership team is a team of multidisciplinary scientists, which brings a really sound mathematic and scientific approach to everything that we build. They all have PhDs in chemical engineering, physics, remote sensing. We have mathematicians, we have data scientists, we have, of course, computer scientists and other folks that are really good at the coding element. But then we also have people who are still physics, who are maybe geospatial intelligence analysts and experts. A lot of people on the technical side that bring that multidisciplinary perspective into the kind of tools that we're building, into the models that we're building. On the non-technical side, like myself, we have a lot of folks who are former intelligence community. We have a lot of military veterans. We have a lot of folks that are studying international affairs, and other people that are just really drawn to this mission of serving decision makers across the US and allies and partners in the moments when they need them most. We have jobs, posted throughout the year. We also do internships both in the year as well as the summertime. And we have offices here in DC, actually a great location right on Pennsylvania Avenue. But then also our headquarters is actually in Palo Alto in the Stanford Research Park in the heart of Silicon Valley, which is where I sit. We also, though, now have offices in India, in Japan, opening one up in Taiwan, in Korea, and soon some European partners as well. So it's a really exciting time to be at a company like Rhombus Power. We're growing, we're expanding, and we're hungry for people who are hungry for those types of challenges, who are just bringing a passion and an interest for the mission and for the problem set and for the kind of technology that we're building in a way that can contribute to sort of our overall end goal. So with that, that's actually all I have prepared. I just wanted to give you guys a little insight, I should say, into who I am, what Rhombus Power is, and I would love if people have questions, be they about careers or anything else, to open up the floor. Ma'am.
And, is this on? Okay, I'm a career coach, and I work with humanities students. What kind of minors or something like that should a humanities student consider if they wanted to work for a company like Rhombus?
A minor?
Well, a lot of them want to do research, and so I often say ArcGIS or data science are good things to minor in. Is that correct? And what are some other ones that would make them more hireable?
Yeah, I think so, and I think anything, so again, as a social scientist, I actually went to GW here in DC. I lived in DC for a number of years, and I was international security and anthropology as my minor. that gave me an interesting perspective. In retrospect, doing a little bit more quantitative research, understanding like how to bring some of that quantitative perspective into some of these humanities and social science research, I think is a really valuable combination. We actually have a few folks on our staff who have their PhDs in what sounds like a political science PhD, but actually their research was very, very quantitative because they weren't just talking about, oh, what are the narratives that are percolating online and how is that influencing XYZ perception in a country, but they were, bubbling it down to ones and zeros into numbers and able to make that measurable assessment about the kind of impact, the kind of trajectory that some of these narratives were having online. And it's that kind of combination of the geopolitical context as well as that understanding of how you can really measure those things that is really valuable to a company like ours. We have obviously people who sit on just one side or just the other, but when people have both of those skills in one, it's dynamite. Any other questions? That was a good question.
Did you raise your hand?
What? I was here just about 10 or 15 minutes ago. I just got here. So sounds very interesting. So I sit down. A lot of things you talk about really interesting. I have a question as a Chinese American. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What kind of strategy is the most? Maybe you can give me first and second. You talk a lot about China. And I want to give a little comments, and I listen to your comments. Anybody can give me what do you think. U.S. fast track, profit driven, and these two things guided AI. In China, leadership and save money. For example, DeepSeek, as you already know. So a question asks you again, as American or Chinese American, what I can learn from you in order that the superpower, still superpower, but in AI continue to be superpower, not give away those lot of things to Chinese free. Thank you.
So I want to make sure I understood the question. I think, so what you're asking is how can we continue to compete in the world of AI? And then I also heard you say something about jobs. I want to touch on that actually, because I think one thing that our company has seen, and I am a beneficiary of this, is there's a lot of dialogue obviously about AI eliminating jobs, and I think there are a lot of companies that are using that as their reason for laying off with the workforce. But we're actually seeing a lot of job creation come out of our AI, whether it's obviously our team that's hiring folks, but it's also in countries where we started to hire data labelers to help us understand some of the nuances of that specific terrain. So I actually think what we're seeing, at least from our perspective at Rhombus Power, as that AI is a job creator, it's an enabler, it's actually helping accelerate a lot of the advancements, both economically as well as geopolitically that we're seeing. But obviously when it comes to China, so many of our models, because so many of our partners, both here in the US as well as abroad, are really interested in the China threat. And so many of our models are looking at what is China doing across domains, what are they doing in the maritime, what are they doing in the information space. So I know that we as a company are always developing our models to obviously be one step ahead of the adversaries, because that, at the end of the day, is how you maintain decision advantage, is empowering our clients to get into and remain sort of pace, at least setting pace with our adversaries' decision cycles. That was kind of a roundabout way of probably answering maybe your question. It may not have answered your question directly, but I got a thumbs up, so thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for the presentation. I was speaking to one of your colleagues and, can you hear me?
A little bit higher if you could.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, so I was speaking to one of your colleagues about roles at your companies that could be open to non-citizens, and they mentioned you have an office in New York. Are you able to speak about what kind of roles you have that are available to non-US citizens? Thank you.
Yes. So because we now are opening more offices abroad within partner countries, we are hiring individuals within those countries, typically that are from obviously that country, because they do have a lot of that important contextual nuance that is helpful when we're trying to engage with customers, you know, even something as simple as language skills. Our folks in Japan can engage with our Japanese clients and partners in a way that I sometimes, as a fast-speaking American, can struggle with. So there's definitely opportunities there, and there's also opportunities for the company here domestically in the U.S. It kind of just depends on the role and the need of the company at the time, but it's not a non-starter.
Thank you. So I'm checking your LinkedIn. You were an investigative assistant for DOJ, and then you worked as a executive recruiter. Then you transitioned to intelligence officer, and now you're in the private sector doing marketing. Mm-hmm. So you did a lot of different things. So what kind of skills and experience you gained from your previous experiences that are helping you with your current job and the current company as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great due diligence. You know, I think, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to have my career go like this. I think, like many people, they go off to college and they think they know exactly what they want to do. And I went to GW and I studied international security, and I thought I would be in government, hopefully, for the rest of my life. But new opportunities arise, and I think what I have tried to do throughout my career is really seize opportunities when they come in front of me. So the DOJ role is actually one that I did while I was in school, and it was great because as a student in DC, you get opportunities to work year-round that maybe other folks just get in the summertime. But the executive recruiting one, they reached out to me cold on LinkedIn, very random. I didn't even know what executive recruiting or headhunting was. But those 6 months there that I spent while I was, you know, kind of waiting for some of my clearance stuff with the US government to go through were very, very valuable because it gave me some early exposure into the technology industry, which as an international security major at GW, I wasn't paying as close of attention to. It also taught me how to communicate with people, communicate with executives quickly, succinctly. It gave me the confidence to be able to cold call people, which is why probably I can now get on a stage today and not be like throwing up about it. And I was able to carry a lot of those skills into my briefing skills at DIA. And then I picked up the skills about the geopolitical context and how to really speak to a government audience. And with those kind of combination of private sector, public sector, domain expertise, skill sets, I've been able to now transition into a marketing role in private sector today. But what's so great for me is it's still mission aligned to kind of what got me interested in going into this space in the first place. So being open to opportunities while also kind of understanding what is that driving North Star for you, at least for me, has been very, very beneficial. Any other questions? And I also have some teammates up here who all have a variety of different roles within the company. And if we don't want to answer them on stage right now because it could be hard, we can also break and people can just come up to us and ask any questions that they might have about working at Rhombus if you don't want to do it in front of the crowd. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.